Hey everyone, ever feel like like your brain's just stuck? Like it's on a hamster wheel of confusion and going nowhere fast?
Oh, yeah.
That's exactly what we're tackling today, right? We're diving deep into how to escape that mental fog and find some clarity.
Sounds good.
So we're looking at this document called Confused Thinking to Finding Clarity. And it's structured almost like our deep dive, which I thought was kind of fun.
Yeah, it is. And you know what I find interesting? Right off the bat, the source digs into how universal that feeling of confusion actually is.
hmm
Makes you realize you're not alone in this.
Absolutely, like it's something we've all been there with. But what is actually going on in our brains when we feel confused? What's the science behind this fog, you know?
Well, think of it like this. Your brain is basically trying to process a million things at once. Information overload, tough decisions, maybe even like conflicting emotions.
Right.
It's no wonder things get jumbled.
So it's like that analogy the document gives with the busy street where you can't focus on anything.
Exactly. Your brain's trying to focus, but everything's competing for attention.
Right.
And the document really emphasizes that this isn't just like a momentary annoyance either.
That's what I'm really curious about. We've all felt that temporary confusion, but when does it become more serious?
Right.
What happens if we just let it linger?
Well, this is where, understanding the impact of prolonged confusion is so crucial.
Okay.
The document goes into how it can lead to some serious consequences, bad decisions, increased anxiety, even strained relationships.
Wow.
Think about it. When you're unsure, you hesitate, you second guess yourself, and that impacts every aspect of your life.
It's like that domino effect.
Yes.
Confusion in one area can really spill over and create problems everywhere else.
Precisely. And the longer we let it fester, the more those ripples are going to be felt.
Okay, so we've established that confusion, it's not just a minor inconvenience, right? It can have some real consequences if we let it go unchecked.
Right.
But this document doesn't just leave us wandering around in the fog, does it?
Not at all. It actually provides some really practical tools to help us find that clarity,
Okay,
which is really, I think, empowering, right?
I love that.
Yeah.
So instead of feeling powerless, we can actually do something about it.
Exactly.
So let's dive into these strategies. The first one, pause and breathe. It almost sounds too simple.
It does. You'd be surprised. When we're stressed or confused, our breathing actually gets shallower, which, believe it or not, hinders clear thinking.
Interesting.
Taking those deep breaths, it calms your nervous system down and it creates that mental space for more rational thought.
It's like hitting the reset button.
Yes.
Giving yourself a moment to step back from the chaos. Like
Yeah.
from that busy street in your mind.
Yeah.
And speaking of which, the next strategy kind of tackles that head on, breaking down the problem.
Exactly. And the key here is manageability. So instead of trying to tackle a huge, overwhelming problem all at once,
Right.
the document highlights how important it is to break it down into smaller steps, like bite-sized pieces.
Okay, I can see how that would make it feel less daunting, but where do you even begin?
Well, the document suggests a few approaches. Try writing things down, make lists of pros and cons, identify the key questions that need answering.
Okay.
Each small step helps chip away at that confusion.
It's like that saying, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time.
Exactly.
By breaking those big, confusing issues down, we can actually make progress without feeling totally overwhelmed.
Yes, exactly. But sometimes, even with those smaller steps, we need a fresh perspective to really gain clarity.
Oh, for sure.
And that's where the next strategy comes in, seeking outside input.
This is so important. It's so easy to get stuck in our own heads, especially when we're already feeling confused.
Absolutely.
So talking to someone else can be incredibly helpful. But who should we reach out to? Like, any advice on that?
The document doesn't specify, and I think that's intentional. It could be a trusted friend, a mentor, a therapist, even a colleague.
Yeah.
The point is to have someone to bounce ideas off of,
Yeah.
someone who can offer a different viewpoint.
It's like having an extra set of eyes on the problem, you know?
Yes.
Sometimes just saying things out loud can help us make more sense of them.
Absolutely. And finally, we come to a strategy that I think feels particularly relevant in today's world, and that's limiting information intake.
This one's huge, especially now, when we're bombarded with news and opinions and constant notifications. It's like that busy street analogy is like our everyday reality now.
And the document makes a crucial point. It's not just about the amount of information, but the quality of information we're consuming.
It's about being more intentional with what we allow into our mental space, not just cutting back on screen time.
Exactly, yeah.
Okay?
The document actually calls it curating your information intake.
I like that.
being selective about your sources,
Sure.
maybe limiting your exposure to negativity or sensationalism,
Right.
maybe even taking a break from those endless scroll holes.
Yeah, it's like choosing a nourishing meal over junk food, but for your mind.
Yes.
It's interesting because the document actually gives us a great example of how these strategies can work in real life. Remember Hera?
Oh, yeah. How could I forget Sarah?
She's dealing with that classic career dilemma, right?
Yeah.
Feeling stuck, unsure which path to take.
Mm-hmm.
And she's experiencing that same fog of confusion we've all been talking about. What I found really helpful was how the document walked through how she used these strategies to actually find her way.
Right. She doesn't just get like magical clarity, right?
Right.
She takes action. Like she takes a step back, she breathes, she talks to people she trusts. She really takes that time to reflect on what matters to her.
And that's what leads her to a decision that truly aligns with her goals and what she wants.
Right.
So Sarah's story, I think, really highlights how these, what might seem like simple steps, can make a real difference.
It's about taking that first step,
Right.
right? Whether it's pausing to breathe or breaking down that huge, daunting problem.
Exactly. Confusion is a normal part of life, but we don't have to let it control us. We have the power to find our way out of the fog.
And this document really does a great job of giving us the tools to do that.
It all comes down to this, right? Take that deep breath, break things down, reach out to others, and be mindful of what you're letting into your mind.
You might be surprised at the clarity that emerges on the other side.
Yes, exactly. So if you're feeling lost in the fog, remember this deep dive. Remember Sarah.
Yes.
You've got this.
Close your eyes and breathe. Feel the sun.